Have you ever noticed that as we get older, we sometimes find ourselves feeling a little more alone than we used to? We might blame it on age or on life simply changing. But what if much of that loneliness is actually a result of habits we don't even realize we have? There are certain behaviors, small things we do every day, that can quietly and without us knowing push people away. A friend might stop calling, a family member might keep their distance, and you might be left to wonder why the phone is no longer ringing. In this video, we're going to talk about 8 common mistakes that older adults often make, not out of malice, but simply out of habit. These are not just casual observations, they are patterns identified by psychologists, caregivers, and those who work with families every day. By the end of our time together, you'll know exactly what to look out for and how you can change course before these habits create a distance you never intended. So, let's begin. My name is Allie, and welcome to the Silver and Smart channel. Here, we believe that the latter half of life is a time of wisdom, joy, and purpose. Our goal is to help you live it with dignity and grace. If you find our conversation valuable today, please consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell. It's an easy way to stay connected and never miss out on our upcoming videos. Number 1, the resistance to technology, the barrier you build. In our modern world, staying connected means embracing the tools that make it possible. Yet, so many of us, as we grow older, tend to resist technology. We might dismiss smartphones, video calls, or even simple text messages saying, "I'm too old for that," or "it's a young person's game." The unfortunate truth is, when you put up a wall against these forms of communication, you're also building a wall against the very people who want to reach you. Think about 2 women in their late 70s, Eleanor and Julia. Eleanor, at 75, was initially hesitant about technology, but she allowed her grandson to teach her how to use a video call on her tablet. At first, it was a bit confusing, but soon she was having weekly conversations with her family on the other side of the country. She was able to watch her great-grandson's first birthday celebration and share photos of her blossoming rose garden. Julia, on the other hand, a stubborn 77, refused to touch any new device. She proudly stated that she preferred things the old-fashioned way, and as a result, she missed out on countless family announcements, milestone moments, and the simple daily banter her loved ones shared online. She felt forgotten, not realizing her unwillingness to adapt had created the very isolation she was trying to avoid. The reality is, no one expects you to become a tech wizard. You don't need to master every new gadget or social media platform, but learning just enough to stay in the loop can make a profound difference. Just a small effort like sending a text message, joining a family group chat, or attempting a video call can bridge generations and keep your relationships vibrant. If you find yourself saying, "I can't" or "I won't" when it comes to technology, I want you to remember that what you're really saying is, "I'm not willing to stay close." By being open to learning, you send a powerful message to your loved ones that they matter enough for you to meet them where they are. Connection isn't about the device itself, it's about the desire for a bond. And every small effort you make to adapt strengthens that bond. Number 2, the refusal to accept help, the fortress of independence. We were raised to value independence, to stand on our own 2 feet. And that pride is a wonderful thing. But what happens when independence becomes a rigid refusal to accept any help at all? It can turn into a stubborn pride that pushes people away instead of drawing them closer. Your loved ones want to feel needed. When their offers to assist are constantly rejected, they may eventually stop trying, feeling unappreciated or even unwelcome. Let's consider 2 friends, both in their late 70s. Patricia, at 76, graciously accepted her daughter's offers of help, whether it was for a ride to the grocery store or assistance with a heavy bag. Each time, she showed deep gratitude, making her daughter feel valued and loved. Deanna, on the other hand, 78, would snap at her son whenever he offered to help around the house, saying she could handle everything on her own. Over time, her son began to visit less frequently, not because he didn't care, but because his good intentions were met with a wall of rejection. He felt useless and unwanted. Psychologists and family counselors often say that the most painful barrier is not the burden of providing help, but the wall that is built when their support is rejected. The truth is, accepting help doesn't make you weak. On the contrary, it shows humility, wisdom, and respect for the love you share with others. By saying thank you instead of I don't need it, you keep the door open for connection. If you catch yourself pushing people away in the name of independence, remember this: receiving support is also a way of giving love because it allows others to express their care for you. Accepting help gracefully isn't about losing your freedom. It's about building trust, strengthening your family bonds, and ensuring that you have people by your side when you need them most. 3. The habit of constant complaining, the weight you carry. One of the quickest ways to drive people away in your later years is to turn every conversation into a list of complaints. While it's natural to feel aches, face disappointments, or grow frustrated with the changes that come with age, allowing negativity to dominate every interaction leaves others feeling drained rather than uplifted. It creates a heavy atmosphere that few people want to be around for long. Let's look at two individuals, Catherine and Martha. Catherine, a vibrant 70, often mentioned her daily struggles with her health or a bad night's sleep, but she always balanced these with gratitude. She would share a funny story about her grandchildren, talk about her flourishing garden, or find something positive in the news. People loved being around her because even when she spoke of her challenges, she didn't let them define her spirit. Martha, 72, on the other hand, seemed to find fault with everything. She criticized the food at the restaurant, the weather outside, and the kindness of her neighbors. Over time, her children visited less often and her friends stopped calling. It wasn't because they didn't care, it was because every conversation felt like a burden, leaving them feeling heavy and exhausted. Psychologists remind us that constant complaining doesn't just damage relationships, it also rewires our own brains, making it harder to see the good in life. The beautiful thing is that this is a habit that can be changed. You don't have to deny your struggles, but you can choose how you frame them. Make a conscious effort to share your gratitude. Notice the small joys. For every frustration you voice, try to balance it with something hopeful or positive. If you find yourself speaking mostly about what's wrong, pause and ask yourself, what is one good thing I can share today? Your relationships begin with the words you choose, and those words have the power to either open doors to companionship or quietly close them forever. Number 4, the past as the only conversation topic, the echo chamber of memory. Memories are precious treasures. They are the stories that define us and connect us to our roots. But when every single conversation revolves only around the past, people can begin to feel disconnected from you. While it's natural to cherish stories of your childhood, your career, or raising your family, if that is all you ever talk about, your loved ones may feel that there is no room for them to share their present. Consider two men, Franklin and Walter. Franklin, 79, loved sharing stories from his life, but he also showed genuine curiosity about his grandchildren's lives. He asked about their hobbies, their jobs, and their dreams. He even made an effort to learn a new video game or understand the music they listened to. His family cherished their visits with him because he not only brought the past to life, but also stayed deeply engaged in the present. Walter, 81, however, repeated the same stories about his time in the army or his old job. He rarely asked about anyone else. At first, his family listened politely, but eventually their visits grew shorter and less frequent. Not because they didn't care about him, but because the conversations felt stuck in time, with no room for them to join in.
Experts in human psychology emphasize that while the past gives us our identity, it is the present that builds and strengthens relationships. The wonderful news is that a healthy balance is entirely possible. Share your memories, but also ask about what others are experiencing now. Be curious, be willing to learn about new interests, and allow your life to keep expanding. If you notice yourself talking only about what happened years ago, pause and ask yourself, what is happening today that I can share or learn about? By keeping one foot in the past and one foot in the present, you give others a reason to keep walking beside you. If you are still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, please comment wisdom below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any of our videos. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you.
5. Ignoring your health, the burden you didn't mean to create. Another mistake that quietly pushes people away is refusing to take care of your health. Many of us think that avoiding the doctor, skipping checkups, or dismissing new symptoms is a form of strength or independence. But in reality, it can place a heavy burden on the very people who care about you. It can cause them worry and stress, and it can leave them feeling helpless. Imagine two men, Julian, 68, and Leonard, 70. Julian noticed some changes in his breathing and made an appointment with his doctor right away. With early treatment and a few simple lifestyle adjustments, he was able to stay active and independent. Leonard, however, ignored his chest pains and brushed off his daughter's concerns, insisting it was nothing to worry about. Months later, his condition worsened, and instead of protecting his family, he left them stressed, worried, and scrambling to manage his emergency care. Your loved ones don't feel closer when you deny your health needs. They feel shut out and frustrated. Doctors and caregivers consistently emphasize that prevention is always easier and more effective than crisis management. By taking responsibility for your health, you give your family not only peace of mind, but also more years of shared time together. Simple steps like scheduling annual exams, following treatment plans, and being honest about how you feel show your loved ones that you value not only your own life, but also the bond you share with them. If you've been ignoring warning signs, remember that seeking care is not a sign of weakness. It is an act of love toward yourself and toward the people who want you around. 6. Financial secrecy and recklessness, the erosion of trust. Money can either strengthen family trust or quietly tear it apart, especially in our later years. Some older adults make careless choices, spending beyond their means or hiding financial decisions from their loved ones, thinking it is their business alone. But when secrets surface, the damage often cuts deeper than the dollars lost. It can shatter a family's sense of trust and security. Consider two men, Harold, 74, and Maxwell, 77. Harold was open with his daughter about his expenses and asked her for advice when he was unsure about a big purchase. He kept his budget simple and steady. His family trusted him, and they felt secure about his financial future. Maxwell, 77, on the other hand, hid his debts, loaned money to strangers, and refused to discuss his accounts with anyone. When the truth finally came out, his children felt betrayed and worried, not only about his stability, but also about the potential burden it would place on them. Experts remind us that secrecy and recklessness create a profound mistrust that lingers long after the money is gone. The encouraging truth is that financial stability at this stage of life
comes more from honesty and a solid plan than from immense wealth. Keeping your records clear, asking for guidance when needed, and avoiding risky promises protect not only your resources, but also the integrity of your relationships. If you notice yourself avoiding money talks out of pride or shame, remember that transparency is not about losing control. It is about ensuring your family can stand by you with confidence. Protecting your financial integrity is also protecting your dignity, and it reassures those you love that they can trust you fully.
7. The refusal of social invitations. The slow fade into isolation. It may seem like a small thing to say no to a lunch date, a church gathering, or a neighbor's invitation. But when it becomes a pattern, it quickly leads to isolation. Human connection thrives on shared experiences, and when you consistently turn down chances to be with others, they eventually stop asking. Think about two women, Dorothy and Irene. Dorothy, at 82, sometimes felt tired, but she pushed herself to attend her book club or Sunday coffee with friends. Each time she went, she returned home feeling uplifted and revitalized, laughing about shared stories and looking forward to the next meeting. Irene, 80, however, always found a reason to stay home. She'd say, "I'm not feeling up to it," or "maybe next time." At first, her friends insisted, but after months of rejection, the invitations stopped coming. She later came to realize that her own silence and her refusal to participate had built her own loneliness. Psychologists and family therapists explain that social activity isn't about being busy all the time. It's about staying connected, sharing laughter, and letting others know you value their company. The wonderful news is that it is never too late to start saying yes more often. Even one small gathering a month can refresh your spirit and remind you that you are not alone in the world. If you find yourself making excuses out of habit, pause and ask whether saying yes could bring you a moment of joy. Protecting your social life is a fundamental part of protecting your health, because companionship strengthens the heart, sharpens the mind, and keeps you standing strong in your later years. 8. Criticizing younger generations. The gap you create. One habit that can quietly drive away your children, grandchildren, and even neighbors is constant criticism of the younger generation. While it may feel natural to notice differences in values, music, or lifestyles, always pointing them out in a negative way builds walls instead of bridges. It can make them feel judged and misunderstood. Let's consider two men, Harrison and Samuel. Harrison, 83, enjoyed hearing his grandchildren talk about new technology or modern culture. Even when he didn't fully understand it, he listened with genuine interest and sometimes asked them to show him how things worked. His family loved spending time with him because they felt respected and welcome. Irene, 81, however, always found a reason to stay home. She'd say, "In my day, things were better," more often than she offered praise or a compliment. Over time, her grandchildren visited less often, choosing instead to spend their time with people who valued them for who they were. Psychologists and family therapists explain that constant criticism can feel like rejection, making younger family members doubt their importance in your life. The hopeful truth is that curiosity and encouragement go much further than judgment. Even if you don't agree with their choices or fully understand their world, simply asking questions, listening with an open heart, and showing your support can keep relationships alive. If you find yourself saying, "In my day, things were better," more often than you offer praise or a compliment, remember that every generation has its own unique strengths. Choosing to encourage instead of criticize can protect the love and respect of your family, and it ensures that you will be surrounded by warmth rather than by silence. Now that we've talked about these 8 common habits,
I want you to take a moment to reflect honestly on your own life. Are you building bridges that keep people close? Or have you allowed a few small behaviors to slowly push them away? The good news, the truly wonderful news, is that none of these mistakes are permanent. You have the power to change them. Complaining less, taking care of your health, learning a bit of technology, balancing old memories with new conversations, accepting help, being honest about money, saying yes to invitations, and encouraging younger generations are all choices that are within your control. By adjusting these patterns, you protect not only your relationships, but also your dignity, your independence, and your joy in your later years. Loneliness does not have to be your story. Every step toward openness, gratitude, and connection is a step toward a richer, more fulfilling life. Your family, your friends, and even your community want to share that life with you. But you must make it possible by the way you act each day. The future you create in your 70s and 80s will be shaped not by what you have lost, but by the warmth you choose to give and receive. Thank you for joining me today. I'm so grateful you've been a part of this conversation. As you look at your own life, what's one thing you're going to start doing differently to build a stronger connection with the people you love? Leave a comment below and share your thoughts. Your wisdom is a gift to us all. And if this video resonated with you, please hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and share it with someone who might need to hear this message. Your support helps us continue creating content that informs and inspires. We look forward to seeing you again soon.